Yeah, hello everyone. So this is me, Kili Shyam Sundar. Okay, before starting anything else, let me introduce myself. This is Shyam Sundar. I have done my MTech from IIT Madras, currently working in PMC Barampur, and I've got 4 years of experience. So this course is Geotechnical Engineering 1. This is the first lecture. So this is for your GATE, which is initiated by TQ faculty. Okay, let's get into the lecture. So this is the first lecture. So geo means it's a soil, right? Mostly soil and rock. So we'll see what is soil and how it is formed in this. Right? We'll see the origin and formation of soil. So the soil can be defined as uncemented aggregate. So it's an uncemented aggregate of mineral grains. So you can see these are the mineral grains. Uncemented means they can be separated apart, easily. So if you can separate the particles easily, that's what we call uncemented. And decayed organic matter. So the solid particles can be mineral grains or organic matter, which are uncemented with liquid and gas in the empty spaces. So there will be some empty space while they are interacting. So in that empty space, you can have liquid and gas, right? So the soils are formed by disintegration of rock. So disintegration means the rocks will break down into smaller pieces and they carried away and then they form a soil, right? But basically the rock is also a kind of formation only, right? So the soil, if we strictly speak, there is no demarcation between the soil and rock. Both are made of minerals, which are material, right? But the rocks are hard, soils are not. This is what we know. But there is no clear demarcation, like how much hardness is required for the material said to be rock. Fine. But the thing is, if it is rock, then it cannot be broken with hand or hand tools. So that's what we say. I mean, we can differentiate the soil and rock in that way, right? So here we have the definition of soil mechanics and geotechnical engineering, which is not so important, but you should know what it is. So soil mechanics is a branch of civil engineering, deals with the application of principles of mechanics and hydraulics, and some part to chemistry, which is required for solving problems related to soil, right? So when it comes to geotechnical engineering, we have not just the soil mechanics, you also include rock mechanics, which will be helpful for this geotechnical engineering. Right? Okay. So now we'll see what how the soils are formed. So as we told, the soils are formed by disintegration of rock. So rock will gets break down. So this disintegration is process is what we call weathering. So this breaking process is what we call weathering. So after they gets weathered, they'll transport it by different transporting agencies. Here you have plenty of transporting agents. They can be transported by water, they can be transported by air, they can be transported some gravitational forces agency and all, right? And then they'll carried away and they'll be deposited at some other place. And the heaving takes place. So finally the rocks will be formed. Okay, if we see here, let's say this is your ground level. So let's say here you have a big rock. I mean, so this will be broken down into small pieces, right? And the small pieces will be uh, this is what we call weathering. So this weathering can be done by different means. It can be by erosion, it can be by some rainwater movement, some chemical weathering because of some chemical involved with the rainwater. They'll interact with the minerals in this rock and they break down. Right? Whatever we'll see that weathering process in detail. So here the rock gets weathered. And then it will be transported. So then this will be transported uh, and it will be deposited at some place. So the small particles will be deposited at some other place. So first layer, right? And then comes after some time, after some season, one some years maybe, there will be a second layer of particles will be deposited, and this will be forming some kind of heap. So this will be forming some kind of heap. So this is transportation, and here it is deposited, and this deposition continues, and the upheaval taking place. So this is the complete process of soil formation. You know, and the soil also can be reformed into a rock. That's a different process. So which you'll study in the geology, right? Different formation of rocks. We are not going into that in this class. Okay. So these are the four processes. So the rock gets disintegrated, and that disintegration is process is what we call weathering, and then they will be carried away, transported, and the transported process is called sedimentation, and they get at some rests at some place which is deposition, and then they gets upheaved. Okay. So this weathering, we'll see all these four parts one by one: weathering, sedimentation, deposition, and upheaval. So we'll start with the weathering. So the weathering can be of two forms, physical weathering and chemical weathering. So what is this physical weathering? So this physical weathering means here the size of particles get reduced by physical forces. So this physical forces can be uh, some okay, if you have some ground here and there will be some vegetation, the roots gets into that uh, rock formation and they'll get disintegrated, and sometimes the rocks will get eroded. So the rocks gets eroded. Because of the erosion, this weathering happens. That's what the physical weathering, by kneading and different actions will create the disintegration of rocks. So here the size of particles gets reduced, but there will be no change in chemical composition. you know so whatever the amount of silica that was present before disintegration, the same amount will be present after disintegration, and same compounds will be present even after, right? Only the particles will be reduced into smaller sizes. So the particles will get reduced into smaller sizes. That's the physical weathering. But if you see the chemical weathering here, the disintegration of rocks happens uh, by reaction with the chemical. you know so this is a kind of a disintegration which will happen. For example, if you have some rock and if it is raining, so the rain will have some minerals in it, right? Chemicals. So those chemicals will react with this rock, and the chemical composition of rock changes now, because after the reaction with the chemicals in the rainwater, the rock will change its minerals, its chemical structure, right? So it will be disintegrated into small particles. So the particles formed by chemical weathering are mostly clays, right? And you can see the sands and gravels formed by physical weathering. So the by physical weathering, by physical or mechanical forces, the soil formed is a kind of larger size, which is sand and gravels. But in the chemical weathering, you can disintegrate the rock into very fine particles, which are clays. Right, we'll see what is sand, what is gravel, and what is clay in the later on classes. So okay, we'll move on. See, we have seen the weathering processes, right? Two weathering process basically. Now it's this transportation, the sedimentation. So we said the sedimentation is done by a different agencies. So different means there will be something that is needed for carrying out this disintegrated particles, right? So that mediums are all this, right? It can be wind, air, it can be water, it can be by some gravitational force, it can be by some ice. So if the disintegrated rock, small pieces, is carried away by wind, then this is what we call aeolian soil, right? So generally the soil which is formed by wind transportation is called aeolian soil, and this is mostly kind of uniform size. you know so uniform size means almost all the particles of the soil formed by this size are same size. That's what uniform size means, right? uh, and if you consider water as a transporting medium, right, mostly this water will flow in the river, right? So start from some hills and it will flow down through the rivers. So this rivers will deposit this soil which is disintegrated and carried by that water at different places. So if it is deposited in river, we call that as alluvial soil. If it is deposited in lake, we call that as lacustrine soil. And if it takes all the way into the sea and if it is deposited in the sea, then that is what we call marine soil, right? Uh, and we have one more, which is gravity. If your gravitational force along the slope, if the gravitational force is the main cause for your transportation and disintegration of rock, then that soil is called as colluvial soil, right? And there will be some kind of melting process that will happen in hilly areas like polar regions, right? So this glaciers, ice also will be melting down and it will get disintegrated, and yeah, the soils will be formed, right? By this ice is what we call glacial soils. So this transportation, we are saying it's a part of your soil formation process. But the thing is, it can be taken to farther distance or it can be deposited at the place where the disintegration was done. So after weathering, if it is not carrying the, the disintegrated rock particles are not carried away, then those soils are called residual soils. Weathering is done, but they are not carried away. The second process, which is called sedimentation, is absent in this residual soils, right? We'll see different special types of soils we have apart from this. So this is lacustrine soil, we told, right? So the soil is transported by water and deposited in lakes. Uh, See what happens here is, let's say this is your river. This is your river flowing, right? Uh, so this is your river flowing, you know. So here the velocity of this water is more. So the particles are going, they'll be carried away in this through the river, and at some point the velocity will be reduced. So when the velocity gets reduced, so this particle loses this velocity, and the downward movement will be more than the suspension, I mean flowing movement. So what happens, here the solid particles will be deposited at the bottom because they don't have much velocity now to move on, right? So they'll be deposited at some place, right? uh, Generally they will be deposited in rivers if the width of the river is more, or if this river or if the stream is passing through some lake. So if it is passing through some lake, so generally lakes are having larger area, right? So if the larger area, for the same amount of flow to happen, if this is larger area, then the velocity will be lesser, right? So the lake velocity in the lakes will be reduced, and this solid particles which are carried away through water, they'll be deposited in the lakes because of the reduction in water, reduction in velocity of water. So as the velocity reduces, they don't flow anymore and they'll be deposited. So if they deposited in lakes, that is what we call lacustrine soils. If they deposited in seabed, they're called marine soils, you know. So there is a special kind of example for marine soils, which is marl. This is a kind of soil which has some calcium carbonate, right? So you can see this in shores, seashores and all, right? Uh, which has high amount of calcium carbonate. This is marl, which is a special example for your marine soils. And if this is deposited in the river itself, so if it is deposited in the river itself by the reduction in velocity, see, even if in the river also the soils can be deposited. Here the velocity is more, but as long as you reduce the velocity, I mean, so the river will be widened somewhere, right? Here the river is very narrow. If it gets widened, then for the same amount of flow, the velocity will be lesser here than this, right? You can use the continuity equation, right? Mass conservation. So the velocity will be lesser here at this portion of your river. So the soil particles which are carried away by water all the way will be deposited in the river itself. So those are called alluvial soils, right? And we have one more kind of soils. This here, the transporting medium is wind, you know. So if the soil is formed by wind as a transporting agency, then we call this as aeolian soils. So Lewis is an example. Lewis is an example for aeolian soil. You can observe this Lewis in kind of desert areas, right? Sand dunes and all. So it'll form some ridges, something like that. You might have seen in movies, right? Lewis is a kind of yeah, this kind of sand dunes, right? Like they look pretty well shaped because uh, the wind or air takes away uniform size of particles, uh, and it will be deposited at different places. Fine. So the glacial deposits, okay, these are the deposits made by ice or snow, right? So the example is till. Till is an example for glacial soil deposits. And we have one more kind of soils which are organic soils. Organic soils means these are the soils which has carbon, oxygen, and all, right? Organic matter. Organic means mostly carbon and oxygen and everything. So these are formed by decomposition of vegetable matter and dead animals. You know, if you uh, die, you go into, you mix. I mean, you go into the ground, right? You will be mixed with the ground. So your matter will be become another soil, right? So that's what the organic soil means. Even if your trees and plants will be uh, cut down, then if you leave that on the ground, then they'll be gets decomposed and they'll form organic soil. So the difference here is this organic soil is highly volatile. You can burn this soil. If you burn the soil, then it will be getting kind of uh, disappear. So we have examples for this organic soils such as peat and humus. So peat is highly organic matter. Humus is halfly decomposed. It's not completely decomposed organic matter, but it is halfly decomposed organic matter. So here we have a special uh, one more soil, loam. So this soil is having an even mixture of sand, silt, and clay in definite proportion. So it consists of all the sand, silt, and clay. So most of your applications, your structural applications, your construction applications, we want to use this loam. Right? Uh, so we are saying sand, silt, and clay, right? So these are the particle sizes: sand, silt, and clay. Clay is the finest particle, very small size. It's less than 2 microns, and silt is having a size range between 2 micron, 0.002 mm to 75 micron, and the sand is having size range from 75 micron to 4.75 mm. Gravel is of this size, 4.75 to 80, and beyond gravel, the larger size particles are called pebbles, and if the particle size exceeds 300 mm, they are called boulders. So this clay and silt combinedly we can call as fine grained soil, and the other soils are comes under coarse grained soil. We'll classify. We'll see what is this fine grained soil and what is this coarse grained soil in the lateral stages clearly, right? Yeah. So and we have the other soils which are warped clay. So this warped clay is the alternative thin layers of silt clay deposited in lake during periods of high and low waters. Okay. So what does this mean? So this is okay. We told that the soil is deposited at low velocities, right? So let's say you have a rock here which is disintegrated, and this has to be carried by the water, and this will be deposited at this here. You know. Now the thing is, sometimes this water will have higher velocity and sometimes it will have lesser velocity. So if the water is having higher velocity, the larger particles can be settled. In rainy seasons, generally your streams have higher velocity, right? So while the water is flowing with higher velocity, then the sand particles will be deposited. And when the season changes, then the velocity reduces further. Then the small particles will be deposited above this larger particles, right? When again, if the rainy season comes, then you can see larger particles, right? Because the particle settling depends on the velocity. You'll see this even in the application of your open channels and environmental engineering, the solids sedimentation also you'll observe this, right? So if the which will be defined by Stokes law. Basically the settling of particles is defined by Stokes law. It says that it is proportional to your settling size of the particle. Setting velocity is proportional to the size of particles. So if the velocity of flow is more, then small particles cannot be settled.